which is made purposely to keep these knives sharp. When they get dull, a few strokes over the edge like this, and you can put a keen cutting edge on it. If you have a dull knife or a dull pair of scissors, an old sickle or a scythe, a lawnmower, cleaver, an axe, there's a tool that will really put an edge on the knife, so the knife will really cut for you. I just want to give you an idea of how sharp that knife really is when you sharpen it with that stone. Ladies, I've seen some of you try to open up cans. Now, there's a can of Campbell's baked beans. I've seen ladies open up a can and you poke a hole in it, go around the top, hippity-hop, and your finger slips. Let me show you a real proposition. Look, lay it on the can, lift up the safety, and turn the key. That locks itself on the can. No harder than you were winding up your watch. Wind up the key and that'll cut the top off of the can slick and smooth. Notice how the end raises itself up in the air so you can lift the lid off, giving you a clean, smooth edge. Now that can be used for sardine cans, square cans or round cans, exactly the same way. Now this tool here, my dear friends, needs no introduction. This will save you on an average of $20 to $30 every year you use it as a peeling knife. Here's a grater for cheese, coconut, or horseradish, a fish scaler for scaling your fish, and when you're coring your apple, it's just a slight twist of the wrist, and there's the apple core. There's one more tool that I want you to see, and I want you to watch this one very closely. Many a times when you're baking a pie, you have a pudding in the oven. I've seen ladies wrap a towel around your hand, and many a times you burn your fingers. Hook this onto the pot like this and lift the hot pots off the top of the stove. You've got a pie pan in the oven, catch a hold of the pie pan like this. Why, you couldn't get it off with a team of horses. This will positively lift 100 pounds. There's a pail of water weighs 50 or 60 pounds. That's the way you pick it up. But there's one more tool. I'll be all through and I'll be finished. Oh, now the next tool and the last one is what they call the Sarah Bernhardt cutter. This was invented by the head chef of the Imperial Hotel in the city of Berlin, Germany. You place the screw into the center of the vegetable. Twist the vegetable until the threads catch a hold, then you wind this up. You keep winding until you utilize the whole potato. The faster you turn, the quicker the slices. Why, ladies, here's a machine for slicing onions. The first onion that you slice with this cutter, you'll bless the day you've got a hold of it. Every slice cut exactly the same thickness. Every slice cut the same size. In making what they call a rosette, pull the vegetable out like this. Pin the ends together with a toothpick. Drop that potato into the hot fat and fry it. That will come out like a donut, golden brown. If you're serving a nice fish dinner, a little parsley goes in the center with the fish all around it. Makes a very appetizing dish. Did you ever try to slice onions with a knife? You know how you get one thick slice and one thin slice? Run the knife through the center. That will separate each slice individual. Almost like magic, there is every slice cut exactly the same thickness and the same size. Wouldn't you like to have a set like this in your kitchen? Why, of course you would. Now don't forget, attend this theater every week and receive this 12-piece fascinating... Ladies and gentlemen, the management of this theater takes great pleasure in making this announcement. To each lady attending this theater each week, you'll receive absolutely free a fascinating 12-piece kitchen cutlery set, one piece each time. It is really interesting and amazing to know how you can prepare your meals in an appetizing and pleasing manner. There's an old saying, and a true one, that what is pleasing to the eye is bound to be pleasing to the appetite. I'm going to demonstrate this set to you, and I want you to watch it very closely. The first cutter that I'm going to show you, now this first one is known as the Parisian cutter. Wind it through the potato like a corkscrew. When the cutter appears on the opposite side, pull the cutter out. Place the handle in the center and twist it out. This is what they call a French curl. When you fry these, they come out like donuts, nice and brown. Serve them with your steaks or pot roast them. Unwind it, there's 2 curls out of the 1 potato. Tomorrow morning for breakfast, wind a little strip of bacon around the potato and serve them with bacon and eggs. They're delicious. Different colored vegetables, wind them together and you get the 2 colors. Here's a little trick cut. Split the curl halfway through the center. If you're making a shrimp salad and you happen to run short of shrimp, mix these in with the regular shrimp. Upon my word, you couldn't tell the difference until you start to eat 'em. Now the rest of the potato, you stuff it. We'll call this a little chicken. We'll call this here some hamburger. You might have a little meat that's been laying in the ice box for a few days. Chop the meat up fine, season it highly, stuff it into the center of the potato and bake them with the skins on. When they're done, cut them in 2. Serve them on the half shell just like that. Serve them in slices when company calls. The more company you have, the thinner you cut the slices. If your mother-in-law calls, give her a beak piece like that. Now the second tool in the set is known as the garnishing knife. Everything you cut with this must come out fancy. Watch this, please. You cut down, you turn the potato, and then you cut through the edge. First one way and then the other. Sweet potatoes cut like this, drop them into a little batter of pancake flour and fry them. When they're golden brown, sprinkle molasses on them. Serve them with strips of bacon for breakfast while they're delicious. Here's beets, you pickle them, and carrots, you steam or cream them. In making the original French fried potato, cut them in thick slices. Put them one on top of each other. Cross-cut the slices, and you'll never eat a French fry any other way. The potatoes cut like this will not absorb the fat because they're garnished around. Pineapples cut for your pineapple and cheese salad, cut them the same way. Here is one, and this is a dandy. Cuts any thickness or any size. Open it for a thick slice, close to the top for a thin slice. Saratoga chips, you can make them for 3 or 4 pennies a pound. Just pull the blade towards you like this. If you want the slices thicker than this, open the blade, there's a thick slice. Shoestrings for your Friday fish dinner, cut them down like this. Chop them up for your vegetable soup. What this knife is really intended for is for cutting the cabbage. You know the old-fashioned board, how you rip and tear, sometimes nipping the ends off your fingers. Lay it flat and pull it lightly towards you over the cabbage. The weight of the knife across the cabbage is all that's necessary. Why, ladies, when you get slaw cut as fine as this, you'll certainly appreciate eating it. The crowning feature of the set is the cutter that I'm going to show you now. This is known as the Champeen vegetable mincing knife and noodle cutter. Now, when you want to make some real fine noodles at home, you roll the dough out like this. Dip this into a little flour so it doesn't stick to the dough, and as you roll it over the dough, that will cut the noodles in long strips, 10 at a time. Did you ever try to chop up a little nuts for cake? Well, I've seen ladies chop nuts and the nuts land up on the ceiling. Sometimes you chop the ends off your fingers. When you want to chop up a little nuts for cake, cooked meat, clams for chowder, soup greens to throw into your soup, making a little pepper or chicken hash is just a few strokes rolling it up and down. Why, here is without a doubt the meanest thing in the world to cut parsley. Put that in a grinder, you really grind it too fine. This machine, instead of crushing the parsley, cuts it quick, clean, and dry, leaving every bit of the juice and every bit of the flavor. Now, to clean this machine, you press the button. Rinse it out in a little water. When you're through using it, hang it up and let it dry. Here's one here that every lady should have in her home, known as the Parisian scoop. You lay it flat, once to the right, once to the left. When you scoop them out, you'll get a perfect round little ball. You can pot roast these, cut them out of cheese or cut them out of butter. When you're serving a fruit cocktail in the summertime, take your fresh cantaloupe, scoop them out like this, mix them with apples, pears, and watermelons, makes a delicious fruit cocktail served with a little cracked ice like you see here. But here are the two ladies. If you ever do get it, you'll thank the day you've seen this demonstration. When you press, it locks. It's like a pair of human hands.
Hello there. How we doing this evening? I am doing quite lovely. Let's get some music going for you guys so you don't have to listen to that noisy refrigerator of mine. Doing pork tonight. Or rather, doing pork tonight. Had this guy sitting around here a little while. Well, obviously from pig earlier. And so I'm going to come back to him a little bit later here, clean him up a little bit more here, and prep him. But for now, he's just chilling out. First thing on the order of things tonight is that pan on the stove back behind me there, which already has beans soaking in it. You have Heirloom European soldier beans, sort of a brown and white bean with, unfortunately it does look like a fair number of these are scarred or marred on the outside of their skins. I'm hoping they're going to keep their skins nice, and I'm thinking a lot of them are going to probably lose their skins as we cook them here. But so I'm draining off the water that I've had them sitting in overnight here, just sort of using my hand. I lost a couple of beans already doing it that way, but using a strainer or whatever, get the majority of the water out of there. We're going to replace that water with the ham hock from the ham that I butchered a while back, a month and a half, 2 months ago. Off of the ham that I butchered right when I started here on Twitch. And this guy. This guy here, which I have home cured using curing salt and all that good jazz, which has been rinsed off since then, and it's just been hanging out here. And so this guy is going in there. Bone right there. Gonna lay him on top there. I'm gonna saute up a little, cut up a little onion here and saute that up to throw in there, and then fill it with stock that I forgot to defrost. So let's pull out a little bit of pork stock here. There we go, pork stock. Hi, Obey. Welcome, 3D3ers. How long was it there? Sorry, I lost where you were talking to me about. The beans have been soaking since about this time yesterday. Oh, hello there, camera. Good morning. There's our beans and hock. And now I'm gonna quick chop up a little bit of onion. I need 2 of these guys for tonight. How you doing, Obi? How is the minions doing in their construction? So I'm gonna dice up this onion, and I'm gonna use half of it here with the beans, and the other half I'm going to put with the spinach later. And this guy's gonna go with this guy. Yeah, we'll leave it in. Could be a little bit of a longer stream tonight. I'm predicting somewhere around the ballpark of 3 hours tonight. At least you got some exercise instead. I don't know what your timeline is for getting the stuff all done, other than probably at least by the summer. So we'll get this going in one of the pans. Thank you for the follow in game menu. Welcome to the kitchen. Hope you enjoy your stay. A little bit of sunflower oil there, maybe a little bit too much for what I'm doing there, but it'll work. That was the wrong switch. And I'm cutting this all on top of my protein board because I'm planning ahead here for the pork, which I normally use this guy for veggies. It's underneath this. Ooh. Yeah. Well, at least you got something to pay attention to this weekend. I was saying, I don't think Ferrari's going to come back until 2022. Lo and behold, now we have the chairman saying that they're going to be lucky to be back in 2022. Thank you, in-game menu. I've been streaming for about a year now. I've been one of the former Mixer streamers who lost their home by tweet. And so I've been here on Twitch the last month or so. I need some water. Those onions need some salt. Turn this other mic on now that the fridge is done making noise. So you guys can hear all the sizzle. I've had a warm welcome. I've enjoyed my time here so far. Water back onto the pork stock to keep that defrosting here. That's probably enough here on these onions just to get them a little bit of color, nice and happy. They'll have plenty of time to cook through in with the onions, or with the beans. I'm immediately cleaning that spoon after touching the Hock, even though I cured the Hock, so it should be perfectly fine to touch, but it's still raw, so. So that guy is next on the list here with the onions out of the way. Stock defrosted enough now that even though it's a giant ice cube, I can throw it in there. Well, thank you, Obi. I appreciate that. And we'll have a steam to melt that most of the way there, so we'll get those going. The beans are going to take at least an hour and a half. They'll probably take 2 hours. I've had some beans, and these beans have taken a while for me in the past, but I've had some beans take upwards of 3 hours. I gave them a flash of heat yesterday just to try and speed them along a little bit. Bacon emotes. Where's that one from? I might need a bacon emote at some point. Let's see, where's bacon? Kim's bacon? Oh, is that one of the printer faces? I have a new toy. I got some ring molds. I can do all sorts of fancy plate ups. Not that I'm not a big fancy plate up guy, but I do like having the tools to do it. Well, that guy is obviously slipped here. That's actually something I need to do with this that I haven't done yet. That slipped me up the last time I did one of these. Actually don't want you in that joint right now. There we go. Need to break those joints. Well, I have butchered a whole pig on stream, including this came from that, so. Shameless pitch, there is the Patreon archive where I have all of my streams from the last year. Yeah, I don't have the room for that or the garage. I was noticing just as I did this, I'm gonna have to be careful with this guy and give him a good oiling and stuff. He's, even though it's a stainless steel, and it's definitely a stainless steel blade, that ain't looking too good. I'll give this a quick cleanup while it's hadn't dried on or anything nasty like that. Sorry, taking a little bit cleaning time here to make sure that this stays nice here. Pretty good. How you doing tonight, Roberto? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not. Having a pretty good evening. Things have been going pretty smoothly so far. Yeah, I'm on top of the freezer over here to dry out a bit. Okay, so got most of these cleaned up pretty well here, but still a little bit of junk there. Have a good one, Obi. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I watched practice 1 and 2 earlier. Sorry, I had mine in the background today while I was watching other streamers and toying with things. Considering adding things and removing things from the stream. I'm not very happy with my raid announcement right now. Hello, Whitethorn Games. Is that B or someone else? Nice. And I'm going to give these a nice sort of clean up here as best I can. While trying to not cut the strings at the same time. I tied this before and I'm just not wanting to retie it. Can fuss and fuss and fuss and fuss and fuss with this. I wish that was a little bit cleaner. I'm gonna live with this though. Okay, so back in the pan, or rather I got the pan pretty dirty here, so I'm gonna switch pans. And we need veggies for our pork. So to go along with this guy and the large, let's see, is this roast gonna fit well in my large cast iron, or do I have to break out something larger? Just barely. I think that'll be okay. I'm gonna use the oven to sear it, so. Veggies. Need onion, need garlic, need, what all do I have? Carrot. Don't think I have rosemary, but it's in my recipe. Recipe is actually sort of my own concoction tonight. Well, thank you for joining me, B. I enjoyed watching your stream cooking last night. You planning to do more? Nice. There is great cooking community here. I'm sure you would be greatly welcomed in. I have been very nicely welcomed in by several people. Hey Luna, welcome back. How you doing this evening? You're doing fine. Yeah. I don't know what you got to worry about. I mean, it's sort of almost hard to get noticed. I'll live with this right now. So, bring the pan over here so we can get everything going with that. I'm going to add some water in here and make sure these beans aren't cooking on the bottom, even though I got all that stock in there. This giant ice cube of stock. like we're good though. Aww. This dumb dude shouldn't have closed that. So I'm just going to basically break these guys open and take the peels off, throw them in the pan here with everything else. Not going to chop them up or anything. Actually shouldn't even really need to worry about the peels, but smashing them up's nice to get them going. At risk of sounding like Brad Leone, smashing your garlic is good. I'm making it up, so it calls for as many as I put in there. Excuse me. And to be honest, I'm just using up the rest of this head of garlic. Well, typically the garlic paper it doesn't break down very well with heat. It's gonna act like paper. So it's not very appetizing to eat. You don't want to leave it in food that you're eating, but it's essentially just dried garlic. And so if you're using it for stock, or in this case, it's going to end up being the braising liquid for the pork, that doesn't really matter too much. What liquid we do get out of this, I'm going to be making a, again, my own recipe, a Blackberry-Dijon sauce slash maybe a late glaze for the pork. And what sauce we get out of this, drippings, etc., is going to get emulsified into that. Alright, let's see. What else did I want to throw in here? We got... I had my little cheat sheet I wrote this morning. Got the beans in there. We got the pork cleaned up somewhat. Garlic, carrot, onion, herbs. Let's skip that. That's a little bit beyond time. This time is going too, but there's still some good stuff here up in the corner. So we'll throw a little thyme in there. And I'm not going to worry about that either, because this is going to get strained out, so I'm not worried about the stems. The rest of that is unfortunately going, so that's going in the trash. Or compost, and the plastic's going in recycling. Get the spinach for later. We have that. That's not going to be used. That's not going to be used. That's not going to be used tonight. That's not going to be used tonight. That's not going to be used tonight. That I can throw with the potatoes. Oh, I forgot I had that. Thank you for the subscription, Luna Puna. I appreciate that. I apologize I don't hear alerts right now. Since I started playing music, I can't play this music on the speakers because then it gets repeated into the mics. So my plan here is next month to get myself an okay but cheap pair of earbuds, and so I'll start wearing earbuds so I can hear that stuff. So I apologize for not hearing that right off. So we got all this loveliness. Put our pork here on top. Don't need all that fat anyways. But I'm going to put a drip pan underneath it just to be sure. You do want to have to be careful about situations like that right here. Like, because this is going to be in the oven. There's a substantial amount of fat there. So, want that to stay mostly in the pan here. Because if it drips off, hits the bottom of the oven, that can be an issue. That can be a fire hazard. Like I said, I'm going to put a sheet pan underneath it. Howdy McGlenn, welcome. And I'm going to leave that other than a little bit of water here in the bottom of the pan. Just to keep veggies and all that from scorching here. Salt and pepper, or rather just salt right now. Heavy salt on our fat. Hey, Bumper Chip. Just get everything heavily coated with salt here. I didn't add any salt at the bottom, so what salt here melts off is gonna flavor everything down below. And like I said, I'm gonna come back later once we're done with the blackberry sauce, and I might give that a glaze. We'll see how it's looking towards the end. If I want to try and keep it, I mean, we got a lot of fat here to keep things nice and moist. But if I want to worried about things along that line, definitely going to add the glaze. Wow, I should turn that timer down on Stream Elements. That's a little aggressive there. Give me 1 second, I'll touch that up while we're here, while I'm thinking about it. I'm horrible about remembering things like that, so. I did remember to turn down the raid siren though. Okay. I got a couple of people I'm actually thinking of redoing the entire raid alert. Wow, those bees are just swarming my hummingbird feeder today. There must be a local farm or something that's got a hive here, because they just came in all of a sudden. They seem to come and go just for a couple weeks at a time, like they're rented bees. There we go. Double that interval on that so it doesn't hit you guys so often with the spam. Yeah, I got 2 of them here, and actually it's not really, they don't really need it right now. I mean, we're peak summer. There's all sorts of flowers and stuff for them to go after. But I keep them going pretty much year round. So I need to get the oven going for that. I'm gonna do 375 for the oven tonight. Fan is on low. Gonna close the bedroom door here so I don't get any smoke alarms going off. And actually I have 4 feeders. And 2 of them I'm not doing anything with right now. But it is sort of annoying the bees are out there trying to steal all the honey. We need bees, but we don't need commercial bees. I've had a couple ideas rattling around in my head, both for sub alerts and for raid alerts or host alerts. Hosts here seem to be much less of a thing on Twitch than they were on Mixer, and so I want to acknowledge hosts, but I don't want to like cover my screen with, hey, you're hosting me. And yeah, I don't know if I want to talk about, but I've got a couple of different ideas what I want to do for different potential themes. It's getting really hard with everything all protected and everything. Is that better for the echo, guys? It's my 2 mics fighting for popularity, whether I'm over here or over there, but when I'm sitting here at the sink, it's a little bit of a fight, and I'm still been doing this a year and I still haven't figured it out. Okay, we got that going, The potatoes. Got another bag of baby potatoes. Let's use a little lard. Got all the lard from breaking down the pig here, so trying to use it. Melt that down real quick to mix in with the potatoes. We got that, we got that, we got that. What are we gonna throw in here? We're gonna throw the pepper in with this. I got one. One serrano pepper here. Sorry, I was at a loss for the name of that for a moment. I'm just gonna use my thumb to strip out the seeds and the center there, just running it down the inside. If you have hands are sensitive to heat or cuts or nicks on your fingers, you feel that real quick with even with a mild hot pepper like this. And so not gonna mince this up because we're gonna throw this in with the potatoes to roast. You put it in there in real small pieces and it's just gonna burn. Not going to toss them, but I will get them a good swirl here to try and get them all coated with that lard. Get them all nice and shiny. Heavy salt. Fingers coated there because they were all wet. Is our oven up to temp yet? Nope, that's still warming up. Garlic, pepper, some fermented garlic and honey. Stole that one from Brad Leone too. And little Ajinomoto MSG. Up that savoriness with our potatoes. Sheet pan. parchment. I want to make sure those peppers are a little bit more distributed there, because they're going to steam and you get the flavor from them steaming. Got a piece of rosemary. Rosemary would be great. I don't have any in the kitchen right now. No worries, Whitethorn. Or bee. I was sitting there thinking of you when I said that we don't need bees. I was like, do I actually really want to say that right now? So I'm just waiting on that oven here to warm up before I throw the potatoes and everything in there. I'll start working on blackberry sauce so that can hang out in a little while and let the ingredients get to know each other. Hello. There goes the apron for the day. Got myself coated in water. I don't know how well that comes over on screen, but I'm not going to wear that now. Even made it through to the shirt. Let's try that again. Thank you for the host view. Welcome. Hope everyone's having a good Friday. If it's Friday for you guys. I don't know, maybe Saturday or Thursday for some of you. Not quite sure. That also made the floor lovely slippery over here too. My little hand sprayer, and what happened there is my hand sprayer and my sink have been trading back and forth about which one is got the most pressure, and so that the sprayer has been staying stuck on every once in a while lately. Hey, Stinging Bear. Nice. Yeah, mine are up near... I need to get a better option for mine because they are starting to get up to the top and the pressure of them is starting to pull my bamboo stakes inward. I use bamboo stakes on either side of the plants with twine going under in between them, just sort of like a fence almost for them to climb up. Allows me to easily just sort of weave the individual stems in between them. I keep meaning to take photos of them. I mean, I put photos out there when I originally put them in the ground. So, potatoes on the bottom. Pork up top. And that's going to take anywhere from, an hour to 90 minutes to roast. That's quite impressive though, Stinging Bear. I really haven't had a whole heck of a lot of luck with tomato plants since I was living in LA. When I was living in LA, I don't know if I talked with you about this before or not, but I made a PVC hanging rack that was just slightly above my height with 4 buckets that I drilled holes in, just planted the plants in upside down in the buckets, and they went great. They obviously the weight held all the tomatoes down. They sell bags to do that, but they're overpriced, and unless someone's giving them to you or something. We got all that going. We got you at just under a boil temp here, or just at a boil temp. So it's taking its time coming up to temp. Obviously all that stock is now melted in there, and thankfully we haven't overflowed. So, blackberry sauce. This is, I looked over several recipes. I had the recommendation from maybe some of you mixer people remember or know Glasinko. He's a streamer who's moved over from Mixer to here. He made the suggestion on one of my Monday morning streams to include some blackberry or blackberry sauce with the pork, whether he's trolling me or not. So I'm gonna do a Blackberry-Dijon mustard sauce with some soy sauce, let's see what all we got. What all did I write down here? We got red wine vin, apple cider, soy sauce, Dijon, yellow mustard, just to give that extra mustard look and to cut costs down a little bit. Small amount of cream, just to add a little bit of fatness to the sauce. Gonna mash in the berries, and then sugar and salt to taste. So that'll go well in this guy. And let's see, what do I want to start with this? Let's start with the mustard, actually, because the mustard will need to be mixed in with everything. But I'm excited. I got a couple, going back to talking about the tomato plants. He's a friendly troll. There's bad trolls and there's friendly trolls. So, getting rid of the dried mustard that apparently was in there. Eyeballing stuff here. Wants to be complicated. It's alright, I can deal with complicated. Best bottle opener that exists. Can opener, jar opener. I'm gonna finish off this jar of mustard. So I'm gonna use a little bit more of it here. This stuff is pretty spicy. I was sort of shocked by this stuff. This is almost as spicy as horseradish here, this Dijon. How you doing, car guy? Thank you for subscription, McGlenn. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Apple cider vinegar. Let's see, I got some red wine hidden back here. Hopefully it's still usable. I've had this for ages. And thank you for gifting that sub, Luna. Sorry, I misread that originally. Quarter cup of apple cider. Got red wine vinegar. Tempted, it wasn't really in the recipe as I was looking, but I was thinking about it. Almost tempted to I'll probably do it on the, try to remember to do it on the plate. I think a little balsamic works with this too, but I don't think I'm gonna mix it in with this. Soy sauce. Just a little bit. You gotta throw the finger out there too, I don't know why. Cheesecake is Sunday. You're reminding me that I need to get the goat cheese for that. But yes, it's going to be a sort of like a burnt top cheesecake, Basque style almost, but it's got a crust and is made from with more tangy, more savory goat cheese. This spoon ain't cutting it here. A little touch of heavy cream. And blackberries. Let's see how these guys have survived here. I've had some that are practically brand new here, and I have some that have been in the fridge for a week or so. The ones that have been in the refrigerator are probably moldy here. Let's see. You can never tell that these clams. I think they make these clamshells purposely. Like, we got a little bit of mold going on here, but I'm not. They're the ones that are still looking good in there. That's a good emote. Who has the spicy emote? Skip him. Skip him. Skip him. Skip them. Skip him too. We'll go with him. He's okay. He's okay. He's okay. And now we got all that incorporated. Now we got blackberries. Those are some big ones. I was looking at that. He has quite an impressive collection of emotes there. I'm gonna have to give him a look. I don't do a lot of game watching though, but I do some. Let's see here. I want to leave a couple of these guys for garnish. Let's take a couple of them. Make sure we keep the nicer ones here. That'll be good. Okay, and mashing these in. Let's see if I can do this. Now, sort of like the almost caviar look, but at the same time, I wish a couple more of these guys popped a bit more. Seems to be a little too. Need a finer masher here. Oh, and I need to set a timer for that fork so I don't forget it's in there. I lose track of time when I'm streaming. Used to be a lot better about remembering time when I'm in the kitchen. I get talking to people, I lose all track of what's going on. I'm gonna set a timer here for 45 minutes and take a look at it and see where it's at. Yeah, I was a little leery about that one. I still want to mash this up a bit more. Let's see if... Let's try this guy. I can already tell from feeling this that there's enough acid in this that they're gonna need a little sugar. These being my aluminum knuckles slash meat tenderizer. Oops, there we go. Got lucky. That's a little bit better. I just wanted to get a little bit more color in there. It was still looking a little too brown, muddy. I think that's gonna look much better now. Yeah, I like those. I've given those as gifts to a couple of people too. Let's give this Hock a turn here. See if we can't make this look a little bit. Oh, looks more the same. But do have our European soldier beans cooking away there. Little pork stalks and onion. Actually, I should do a zoom up on the stove right now. Let's leave it for right now. I think it's time to open wine. I am doing the fourth of 4 of the cheap Whole Foods wines tonight, and we're doing Cab Sav, which can be on the lighter end, typically is able to handle some meats like this, so hopefully we're not too light with this. We're not looking great here with this so far. We've got, I like the Chardonnay, but the Pinot and the Merlot were meh. So the Chardonnay I'd be willing to pick up again. That was mildly decent. A lot of Chardonnays, especially cheap Chardonnays, are just wood bombs, and that one was not. Yeah, so 1/3 so far. We're trying our 4th. The Pinot Grigio was drinkable, but was just like basically all acid. and it actually was more woody than I expected a Pinot Grigio to be. I sort of think of that as being just sort of stainless steel all the way, and that was not. We'll see with this. The Merlot had an off scent to it. It just did not smell good to me. It just didn't. It made it unappetizing to me. Pretty dark, but it's I can see through that. I can see the white behind that. That's you know, on the there's some cloudiness, but yeah. Not that I would think anyone would even really fathom the idea of aging a you know, couple dollar bottle of wine. But it does have the see-through enough. You can see the bottom of the glass there in my eyes. You can't really, and I don't see it on the stream. I'm gonna give that time to open up a little bit. There's not a whole lot there so far. I get a little bit of wood off of it. I get a little bit of pepper off of it. Those are sort of after notes. Other than that, a little bit of acid. No real berry flavor. No real grape flavor. See if that wakens up a little bit with a little bit of time. Okay, we got our potatoes in the oven, we got our pork in the oven. We're down to our spinach basically. Go. See how our beans are looking again. And so we got onion already for our spinach. I got a clean spinach. I already rinsed it the other day, but I didn't use all of it the other night. Alcohol on that. 13%. I'm just gonna pinch off the stems. That one, guys. Maybe shouldn't have kept that one. Oh well. Is it possible that the spinach looks better than it did the other day to me? After it sat in a Rubbermaid container? As it stands here, I think we're still at 1 and 3, although I think this one is still drinkable so far. Maybe if it opens up and gets a little bit fruitier, a little bit more friendly, I'll put it on the maybe again list, but better wines. Maybe not for $3 or $4, but there's better wines. Yeah, Burger did ditch him. Well, you got some of the stuff on the bottom there that didn't do well. Got crammed in there or got packed in a little too tight, I think, maybe. And bruised up the leaves. But we still got a decent amount of spinach here for at least one plate tonight. Probably won't last tomorrow. But I got all sorts of, today and tomorrow I'm hoping to go through half to 2/3 of that pork, the spinach and onions, and potatoes. The beans, a lot of these can be left over for, and I'm keeping these purposely somewhat simple so they go well with the pupusas. And same thing with the pork. The more that now that I'm thinking about the pork being used later on for pupusas, I think I'm going to skip using the sauce as a glaze. And keep it simpler for that. Keep it simple. So many ideas for emotes. It is opening up a little bit there. We'll see. May have something there after a little while. Don't want to do the spinach right off here because we got to wait on our pork. We got another 30 minutes on our pork. I think we're just going to hang out here for a little while. Yeah, I got myself all I sprayed myself with the sink earlier and had to ditch the apron. It's actually probably... no, it's still soaked. I got it over here hanging, so hopefully it'll dry out, but might as well just throw it in the wash. So how is everyone doing this evening? We've got our Dijon blackberry sauce here. Oh. Where is my third camera on this view? Oh, it's the wrong view. That's the one we want. So we got the beans bubbling away there. I should actually turn those down a little bit. We want them at like the very beginning of a boil, but sort of like a stock. You don't want them moving around a lot. You don't want to emulsify the fats in with the liquid, which is going to give you a cloudy liquid with the beans. It's probably going to be cloudy with the beans anyways, but and it's also going to agitate the beans, so they're more likely to lose their skins, especially if they're going further. Spinach, I'm going to do a little sauteed spinach on the side with the pork. I've got onions, going to saute up the onions. I could actually probably start slowly caramelizing the onions here. Got this pan with a little bit of lard in it. Still earlier, I melted a little bit of lard in there for the potatoes. I got baby potatoes in the oven. I've got a 4-rib pork loin rack in the oven with some veggies to catch the drippings from. We got a Blackberry-Dijon mustard sauce for over the top with that, and some spinach. And the beans. Beans are almost half prepped for Sunday, but we'll throw those in with the photos tonight too, though. Actually, I should probably get myself a second apron here for situations like this. Yep. I just added a couple of things to my list there today. I added a couple of different silicone cake molds because I'd like to do some like no bake type, like more prettier cakes here in future streams. How we doing tonight, Strikean? I'm gonna let those guys just slowly melt down and caramelize. Switch back. Nice, nice. Welcome, Strikeon. We've hit a little bit of a lull in our stream tonight. We've got another 24 minutes on the oven here before I'm doing my first check. You got I don't know if you heard me, I just summed up a couple minutes ago, but I've got a 4-rib pork loin roast in the oven with some veggies. I've got some baby potatoes salted up with some lard in there. We got onions slowly caramelizing here to work with our spinach last minute. I've got some Heirloom European soldier beans, which have sort of a brown spotting to their beans, with a hock from the pig I butchered, and I cured that a couple weeks ago now. And last we got a blackberry and Dijon mustard sauce with a bunch of vinegar. I haven't tasted it. I should taste this. I needed to taste this I haven't added salt or sugar to this. And that needs both. Not a lot of sugar though. That's pretty sweet. But good pinch of salt. And do I want to do that, or do I want to do... Let's throw in a spoon of honey. No, what I'm going to eventually do, I don't know if I'll do it tonight or on Sunday, Nan Reader, is I'll... new container of honey. I'll cut that once it's done cooking and add the meat in with the beans. I really like the meat off of Hock's. It's sort of I almost like that more than the beans. I definitely got my hand of steam burn or something. It's feeling the heat tonight. But you'll notice when I take the Hock out here, and probably another hour from now, that it'll have shrunk off of the bone, and it won't look like it looks right now. Thank you, Luna. Need more water to hydrate. Smells amazing in here right now. Then again, it always smells amazing in here. So we'll get that mix in there and see what we get from that. You got all sorts of thick blackberry going on in there. Still hasn't worked all the honey off the spoon there. Just the onions alone smell good, but I'm starting to smell that pork stock and that hock a little bit. But I'm not really smelling the oven yet. I should, but I'm not. Maybe the fan's catching most of that still, but I'm sure that roast is going to be smelling quite lovely here shortly. Someone moved one of my racks at work, and I hit it while taking a pan out, pushing a pan onto my wrist. Burn buddies. Yeah, I don't know if... Mine's a mild irritation. Mine's not really much of a burn. I'm feeling a little pinkish here, but I'm fine. There's not even a mark. But I feel free to strike in. That's always the fun stuff, working with a team in kitchens, flying knives, and all sorts of stuff like that. Welcome, Trigger. How we doing this evening? We out on our vacation, back from our vacation, still working on going on vacation. Starting to get a little bit of a tart berry flavor from this, which is not horrible. I'm still leaning towards probably wouldn't bother again, but it's not like the Merlot where I had a problem with it. Woohoo! 1 week. Wish I had one of those ovens. I've been starting to catch a couple of other streamers, and a couple of them have great views into their ovens here on Twitch. And mine, you can barely tell that there's a window there. Nice. Yeah, I think you're coming to visit the Redwoods, aren't you? Put my aluminum knuckles away. That's impressive for me. I don't remember stuff like that. I mean, seriously, I'm impressed with myself right now. Try and let the... We got the fan blowing here, even though I got the wine sort of blocking it, but hopefully the fan will help dry out the spinach a little bit here. seems to be thickening up here. I don't know if we got some like pectin like action going on here or what. And it's sort of that same gel like reaction that you get from a pectin like thickener too. It's sort of hard to describe. It probably doesn't come across on camera very well, but it more seizes than thickens, I guess, is the best way to describe it. Oh, I'm doing quite well still. I got all sorts of pork still. I've got all sorts of bacon. I'm set for bacon for months. I still have a whole nother ham that I need to break down. I'm still working on I've worked my way through the jerky. The jerky was great. I think I can do better with the jerky next time. The roulettes have been great. Still working my way through those. Still got another 2 jars of roulettes here. Even with it being something that can preserve in the fridge for 2+ months, a little worried I'm going to work my way through those. We got pork stock. I still have most of the impressive cuts. Like tonight's one of the more impressive cuts that I have kicking around, the whole large bone, rib bone rack. But I still have a couple of those French pork loin. Well, what is the proper term for the French chop with both the loin and a little bit of the tenderloin there and the full rib bone. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Hock meat. It's rich, it's fatty, it's a lot of those. I actually think a lot of those pre-made sous vide barbecue things you see in the supermarkets, where it's like a plastic container with a vacuum-packed thing of pre-flavored and cooked meat that you just sort of basically reheat in the microwave. I think a lot of those are actually Hock meat. It's really good, and it's on the cheaper end of cuts of meat that you can do. It just takes time to cook it. You got to give it, a good 2 hours. Gotta let all that cartilage and all that connective stuff going on there in the ankle. Is essentially what the hock is. It's sort of like the ankle or the lower part to the leg to break down. And once you break that all down, that's all just beautiful, yummy gelatin. Gonna turn the heat off on our onions here before we burn those to go along with our spinach. Got enough color there. Seems like I almost dehydrated those more than I did sauteing them. I think I'm actually gonna add a little. Do I have it in here still? Yeah. Just gonna add a little touch of apple brandy to the onions with the spinach. Like tablespoon, not a shot. No worries, Trigger. I figure everyone's lurking. I get all sorts of lurkers. This isn't a, hype, keep you engaged. You gotta watch constantly, stream. I'm happy you guys just hang out. But happy birthday to your friend. You got another 5 minutes here until I even do my first check on the pork. I expect the pork to probably take at least another 20 to 25 minutes here, but at the same time, it could be ready here now. If it is ready now, the potatoes are probably not ready. The beans are definitely not ready, but we're sort of just hanging out and chilling now. If you have any Gart fans, we can play Gart or anything along that line too, but I'm okay just hanging out here. Audio makes it look like it's not a very chill song. I'm still mostly digging creative streams, Luna. I like watching food streams, but watching food streams often irritate me. Not that I have any problem with other food streamers. I love everyone. I think we need more food streamers, cooking streamers, baking streamers, all that. What irritates me is I have issues with my own stream and things that I want to improve on in my stream, and then I see other people do it, and it just irritates me. And so I tend to watch more things. I like watching people working with their hands and making actual stuff, but I tend to watch a little bit less of the food stuff. I do watch a fair amount of like YouTube and program food stuff, and I've got all sorts of friends in the food world, so my feeds are all full of food, but watch a fair number of streamers, music streamers as well. Yeah, and there's some other things here that I'm still sort of figuring out here as far as Twitch. I mean, it's a much larger community, so there's a little bit more to explore than what's available to watch. It's also a little bit harder to search through, not just because volume, not because it's harder to search. Yeah, I think this Monday I'm actually going to be doing some screen printing, and not just doing just my normal coffee. We'll see here. Need to do some overlay work on this computer if I'm going to be doing coffee in the kitchen rather than living room. But I think I'm going to be doing some screen printing here next week. I've got the screens all set up now, and so that should be fun instead of my normal Monday, but I'll still do my normal Monday morning chat and see if anyone wants to provide any input on the upcoming week from, let's see here, I think we've done through the 9th. So the 12th through the 16th will be next Monday. And what I have been doing here is each week is sort of picking out a big cut or big item that I have in the freezer here from the pork and working on that through the week process. This week we've got this guy, which is going to be working towards 2 dinners here. The next week I'm going to be having one of my big 4, I have 4 shoulders of pork meat still, and so we're going to be breaking one of those down. I'm going to be actually using that for all 3 days. Hopefully next week we'll see how much meat I get out of it, but probably will be enough to do all 3 nights. Let's take a look at our pork here. That is starting to look lovely. Let's pull that out and give that a proper temp. I think that still needs more time, but it does look pretty. I don't have a proper, like, full-on screen printing setup. I'm way too small scale. I've actually only done it once before. I made myself a bunch of towels a week or 2 before Mixer's demise. I am hoping to do a bunch of shirts here this next time, but as far as being small scale, and what I mean by small scale is I don't have a setup to really do. I'm using a heat gun. I don't have a proper like flash heater to do like a full t-shirt design. So I'm doing small designs like my own logo, or the idea was with Mixer we had a really nice tight small community of streamers, and I felt like I could maybe do that and help out some of the other streamers that wanted like maybe custom stuff for their stream that would be different from what normal people would want to wear, would be expensive to order otherwise. It wasn't something that I'm really looking to do for the masses, and it's not something I'm looking to do a ton of. I was gonna start doing giveaways, and I might do that again here on Twitch. I'm still figuring stuff out here on Twitch. But I was thinking of doing giveaways with kitchen towels, with logos, and other similar things to do with that. I need a temp on this guy here. So that may be Monday morning. Oh, that's going to be Monday morning, rather. And as beautifully light golden brown as that looks, we're still under 100 degrees in the center. So that is going to go in for a bit longer here. So probably going to need that full 25 minutes here. I'm going to put it in for at least 20. Potatoes are looking good. Peppers are nice and charring up. Those are going to be too crispy to really want to put in it, but they've given their flavor to the potatoes, so I'm going to give this another 20 minutes. I'm going to zoom in on our stove there, and yeah. So I'm gonna put up the AFK stream here for 5-10 minutes and go use the restroom, fuss around a couple of things here, see if I can't. Yeah, that just needs to go in the wash. I'm not going to put the apron back on tonight. And so I will be back here in 10 minutes. Dinner's probably going to be ready in the ballpark of 30 minutes from now. Thank you guys for hanging out.
Ladies and gentlemen, the management of this theater takes great pleasure in making this announcement. To each lady attending this theater each week will receive absolutely free a fascinating 12-piece kitchen cutlery set one piece each time. It is really interesting and amazing to know how you can prepare your meals in an appetizing and pleasing manner. There's an old saying, and a true one, that what is pleasing to the eye is bound to be pleasing to the appetite. I'm going to demonstrate this set to you, and I want you to watch it very closely. The first cutter that I'm going to show you, now this first one is known as the Blackberry-Dijon cutter. Wind it through the potato like a corkscrew. When the cutter appears on the opposite side, pull the cutter out. Place the handle in the center and twist it out. This is what they call a French curl. When you fry these, they come out like donuts, nice and brown. Serve them with your steaks or pot roast them. Unwind it, there's 2 curls out of the 1 potato. Tomorrow morning for breakfast, wind a little strip of bacon around the potato and serve them with bacon and eggs. They're delicious. Different colored vegetables, wind them together and you get the 2 colors. Here's a little trick cut. Split the curl halfway through the center. If you're making a shrimp salad and you happen to run short of shrimp, mix these in with the regular shrimp. Upon my word, you couldn't tell the difference until you start to eat them. Now the rest of the potato, you stuff it. We'll call this a little chicken. We'll call this here some hamburger. You might have a little meat that's been laying in the ice box for a few days. Chop the meat up fine, season it highly, stuff it into the center of the potato and bake them with the skins on. When they're done, cut them in 2. Serve them on the half shell just like that. Serve them in slices when company calls. The more company you have, the thinner you cut the slices. If your mother-in-law calls, give her a beak piece like that. Now the second tool in the set is known as the garnishing knife. Everything you cut with this must come out fancy. Watch this, please. You cut down, you turn the potato, and then you cut through the edge. First one way and then the other. Sweet potatoes cut like this, drop them into a little batter of pancake flour and fry them. When they're golden brown, sprinkle molasses on them. Serve them with strips of bacon for breakfast. Why, they're delicious. Here's beets, you pickle them, and carrots, you steam or cream them. In making the original French fried potato, cut them in thick slices. Put them one on top of each other. Cross-cut the slices, and you'll never eat a French fry any other way. The potatoes cut like this will not absorb the fat because they're garnished around. Pineapples cut for your pineapple and cheese salad, cut them the same way. Here is one, and this is a dandy. Cuts any thickness or any size. Open it for a thick slice, close to the top for a thin slice. Saratoga chips, you can make them for 3 or 4 pennies a pound. Just pull the blade towards you like this. If you want the slices thicker than this, open the blade, there's a thick slice. Shoestrings for your Friday fish dinner, cut them down like this. Chop them up for your vegetable soup. What this knife is really intended for is for cutting the cabbage. You know the old-fashioned board, how you rip and tear, sometimes nipping the ends off your fingers. Lay it flat and pull it lightly towards you over the cabbage. The weight of the knife across the cabbage is all that's necessary. Why, ladies, when you get slaw cut as fine as this, you'll certainly appreciate eating it. The crowning feature of the set is the cutter that I'm going to show you now. This is known as the Champeen Vegetable Mincing Knife and Noodle Cutter. Now, when you want to make some real fine noodles at home, you roll the dough out like this. Dip this into a little flour so it doesn't stick to the dough, and as you roll it over the dough, that will cut the noodles in long strips, 10 at a time. Did you ever try to chop up a little nuts for cake? Why, I've seen ladies chop nuts and the nuts land up on the ceiling. Sometimes you chop the ends off your fingers. when you want to chop up a little nuts for cake, cooked meat, clams for chowder, soup greens to throw into your soup, making a little pepper or chicken hash is just a few strokes rolling it up and down. Why, here is without a doubt the meanest thing in the world to cut parsley. Put that in a grinder, you really grind it too fine. This machine, instead of crushing the parsley, cuts it quick, clean, and dry, leaving every bit of the juice and every bit of the flavor. Now, to clean this machine, you press the button. Rinse it out in a little water. When you're through using it, hang it up and let it dry. Here's one here that every lady should have in her home, known as the Parisian scoop. You lay it flat, once to the right, once to the left. When you scoop them out, you'll get a perfect round little ball. You can pot roast these, cut them out of cheese or cut them out of butter. When you're serving a fruit cocktail in the summertime, take your fresh cantaloupe, scoop them out like this, mix them with apples, pears, and watermelons, makes a delicious fruit cocktail served with a little cracked ice like you see here. But here is a tool, ladies, if you ever do get it, you'll thank the day you've seen this demonstration. When you press, it locks. It's like a pair of human hands. Reach in the oven and take the biscuits out of the oven. Ever take the hot potatoes out of the oven and burn yourself on the elbow? A roast chicken out of the oven, a piece of meat out of the pot, spinach, asparagus out of the water. Why, around canning season, when you're preserving the fruits, to take the hot fruit jars out of the water like that, that machine is worth dollars to you. And here's another one that I really know you'll enjoy having in your kitchen, known as the safety grater. No doubt you're familiar with the old-fashioned grater. I've seen ladies take a grater and rip the knuckles off. When you want to grate up potatoes for delicious potato pancakes, this has a smooth, flat edge, impossible to cut yourself. Just like you were washing clothes, you rub it up and down, and you really grate your vegetables real fine, retaining all the flavors and all the juices. Breadcrumbs for when you're serving veal cutlets or anything like that. You want a little breadcrumbs to fry your fish in? Why, there's the greatest proposition in the world. Use that for coconut, cheese, or horseradish. When you're through with it, just hit it down like that. That knocks all the food out. Rinse it out in a little water and hang it up and let it dry. Now, here is a stone made of carborundum and sapphire quartz, which is made purposely to keep these knives sharp. When they get dull, a few strokes over the edge like this, and you can put a keen cutting edge on it. If you have a dull knife or a dull pair of scissors, an old sickle or a scythe, a lawnmower, cleaver, an axe, there's a tool that will really put an edge on the knife, so the knife will really cut for you. I just want to give you an idea of how sharp that knife really is when you sharpen it with that stone. Ladies, I've seen some of you try to open up cans. Now, there's a can of Campbell's baked beans. I've seen ladies open up a can and you poke a hole in it, go around the top, hippity-hop, and your finger slips. Let me show you a real proposition. Look, lay it on the can, lift up the safety, and turn the key. That locks itself on the can. No harder than you were winding up your watch. Wind up the key and that'll cut the top off of the can slick and smooth. Notice how the end raises itself up in the air so you can lift the lid off, giving you a clean, smooth edge. Now, that can be used for sardine cans, square cans or round cans, exactly the same way. Now, this tool here, my dear friends, needs no introduction. This will save you on an average of $20 to $30 every year you use it as a peeling knife. Here's a grater for cheese, coconut, or horseradish, a fish scaler for scaling your fish, and when you're coring your apple, it's just a slight twist of the wrist, and there's the apple core. There's one more tool that I want you to see, and I want you to watch this one very closely. Many a times when you're baking a pie, you have a pudding in the oven. I've seen ladies wrap a towel around your hand, and many a times you burn your fingers. Hook this onto the pot like this and lift the hot pots off the top of the stove. You've got a pie pan in the oven. Get your hold of the pie pan like this. Why, you couldn't get it off with a team of horses. This will positively lift 100 pounds. There's a pail of water weighs 50 or 60 pounds. That's the way you pick it up.
Okay. How's everyone doing? We're still hanging out here for another 8 minutes or so, waiting on our pork to continue roasting away here. It doesn't seem that this is thickened up as much as I thought it was, but tart, acidic, but not rip your mouth off tart or acidic. That honey mellowed out nicely. And you can taste everything there. That's good. I like that. Perhaps a bit too much here for our pork. I mean, we really only have about four slices of pork loin here with this roast, so there's quite a bit of sauce for that. But happy with it just the same. Our beans are still cooking along nicely here. Meat hasn't really separated too much from the bone. Pork, the hock obviously needs a bit more roast cooking here, but let's see how our beans are looking. Those are feeling to me like they need a little bit more time still too. They need more time. Tasty though. Onions and spinach are waiting. Potatoes are smelling good. Let's take a look at the potatoes, see if we can pull those out. I think I'm gonna let those chill out in there. They're fine there, and they're protecting the pork from dripping down in the oven at all. Wine has opened up quite a bit nicely. Still at the same time, if you're looking for a cheap $4 cab, it's not offensive. I would rather you spend a $5 or $6 or maybe even $7 and get yourself a little bit better, but I think we may be at 50-50 here with two okay and two. That Chardonnay wasn't bad. The Chardonnay is definitely the star of the four. I think this guy will do well. I think this guy will do well with food. The Merlot, no. The Pinot, no. Got a couple other wines coming up here next week. We've got dueling Pinot Noirs. Sunday is going to be non-alcoholic, and Wednesday is going to be non-alcoholic. But we have, for next Friday and next Sunday, dueling Pinot Noirs to go with dueling types of barbecue pork. One night I'm going to be doing a little bit, I actually forget one. One of them is going to be sort of Louisville, Kentucky mustardy barbecue. The other one, I believe, is Kansas City off the top of my head, which is a much thicker, much heavier sauce. Let me double check here. I'm forgetting my own plans. And I have everything together in a notebook, but it's in the back. Okay, in upcoming plans. Memphis versus Carolina. And next Wednesday, I'm going to do a very sort of more like apple cider simple pork that will be more like your typical pork roast, but I'm going to be breaking it out of the shoulder, so it's not going to be a roast. Going to shred that and do that with caramelized onions and apples. Do some sweet potato mash. 7th, I'm going to be doing second version of milk bread, although I'm going to start it before the stream so you guys don't have to deal with the whole 5-hour proof deal. Again, going to be dry roasting the pork and then shredding it for sandwiches with the milk bread and some Louisville style or Memphis style thick, heavy, deep barbecue. And Carolina is going to be more of a braise. Going to use the sauce with the pork. So that's all going to be next week, along with cornbread, coleslaw, maybe, and sweet potatoes. I've got some. Going to be doing a purple sweet potato mash. I've already got the sweet potatoes. So. And then since I'm going over future plans, I've already said it a half dozen times, but going to be doing goat cheese sort of half Basque, but in a crust style cheesecake. It's going to be made with goat cheese, so it's going to be sort of tart and a little bit more savory of a cheese than your typical cheesecake. I'm really interested to see how that turns out. And that's also going to be. I'm also going to be doing pupusas for the first time, which I bought masa. I know I've talked about. I really want to do a proper nixtamalization and proper treatment for making my own masa, or at least try it once. We'll see here. That's asking quite a bit because I haven't worked much with lye, and I'm a little leery of working with lye. It's something so basic, especially with food. Still climbing. Still climbing. We're not there though. We're gonna need a little bit more time in the oven here. Yeah, we're not quite to, we're about 110 degrees there at the center. And looking more, I'm not afraid of going medium rare, and so I'm looking maybe 130, 135-ish for internal temp. So back in the oven you go for probably, I'm going to give it another 15 minutes here. Sort of tempted to throw more veggies in there, but I'm going to go with it as is. Okay, potatoes are coming out. I'm going to keep those out here. Grab a spare sheet pan, throw it back underneath here. Like I said, I was a little worried about the pork roast dripping even still. I didn't look how close it is to the edge after it's rendered here, but better safe than sorry. Potatoes are nicely browned on bottom. Those would be nice. Might need to rewarm them up, but I'm going to let them chill out here. I don't know if I like how this scene is set up. I think I'm going to change how this is done. Thank you for the follow, Arcane Creator. Welcome to my kitchen. Glad to have you. I've been cooking here and streaming for about a year now. I do 3 streams a night, cooking dinner for myself here at home. Live in Sonoma County. Often do a little wine with dinner, and I'm not trying to overly impress, but having a good dinner at the same time. I am doing quite lovely. Thank you. We got potatoes, I don't know how long you've been lurking. I'm not paying attention who's in the room or not. We got a 4-bone pork loin roast in the oven, still going. I just increased the timer there for another 13 minutes. We are about 110 degrees. We want to get upwards 130, 135 after resting. So that's got at least another 15. I'm still thinking that's probably going to need even longer than that. We've got some Heirloom European soldier beans, which are a creamy bean with a sort of brownish spotting to them, with some red onions and a home-cured pork hock. Oh, you can't see that because I don't have the stove on. Yeah, you can, but that'll show you a little bit better. And we got a Dijon and blackberry vinegar based sauce here for our pork. And spinach with onions already started sitting on the stove waiting for with the spinach. We're doing lots of pork on my stream. About 2 months ago, month and a half, 2 months ago, I broke down a whole pig here on stream, minus the head and offal. And actually, one of my first streams here on Twitch after Mixer died, I broke down a whole ham. I have a whole another one to break down in there in the future. So lots of pork here to be had, lots of bacon to be had here. I would like to diversify more, but I do need to work through this financially. It was sort of a decision on the fact that meat here and the price of meat here in Northern California, with trying to buy, this is a pasture raised animal that was raised less than 20 minutes from where I live. Its overall travel time is less than 50 miles between butchering and all of that. So trying to be responsible with my meat consumption, even though I do consume a lot of meat. And so yeah, that's just in a nutshell what we're doing here. I'm hanging out, making dinner. If you look down below, I've got a list of, I just went through it for everyone else in the channel, but I have a list of upcoming dishes and things that I'm planning here. And if you hang out with, I have a short stream on Monday mornings. This Monday I'm going to be doing screen printing, most likely. So it'll be a little bit of a longer one, but typically on Monday mornings I do about an hour morning stream, drinking coffee, hanging out with people, talking about recent news, talking about Formula One, and sort of planning my next, not that next week, but the week after that's menu plans. So if anyone's interested in having contribution or adding things, Blackberry in this dish was a contribution from someone in chat on Monday. That's cool, man. I appreciate hanging out. I'm also drinking, for anyone newly tuning in, I'm drinking in the fourth of the 4 wines that Whole Foods has that are $3 or $4 depending on where you are. I've sort of come to the decision that we've come to 50-50 here. I was not a fan of Merlot. I was not a fan of their Pinot Grigio. This Cab Sav for $4 is passable. Not excited about it. I think there's better deals, better things you can get. But not horrible. And the Chardonnay was I like the Chardonnay, but again, I'm a huge minerality junkie when it comes to white wines, and that was a sort of light oak, high minerality Chardonnay. And then I was also showing we're going to be doing a couple of Pinots here next week. I have a Rosé Pinot Noir, which, talking about minerality in whites, these Rosé Pinot Noirs have been rocking this year. I've really been liking these. They've been really right up my alley as far as light, quick, drinkable. Otherwise, I'm much more of a heavy Zinfandel, smoky, leathery, tobacco-y, dark fruit wines that go with the food that I like to cook. You know, braises and long stews and that sort of stuff. Hopefully everyone out there is having a good evening. Dull knife. Can't even cut a cooked potato. Need to clean that and cut that guy up. Clean that guy up, but happy with the taters. Kind of oversalt your roasted potatoes. It's one of those things that I don't know. People joke that Americans are huge into salt, which is probably true. But oversalted potatoes and oversalted caramel, I'm cool with. I think there was an Australian that I was having that conversation with about too much salt in American food. I really sort of expected a much more American or U.S. audience towards streaming. It really has. I mean, I know the internet is worldwide and how much of it is worldwide, but it is still shocked me streaming how many people I get from around the world that are just waking up or trying to fall asleep to me making dinner. Oops. We lost our flame on the beans there. Another 4 minutes on our pork for our next test. Why don't we try this? We got another. We're running out of time for that. Let's not. I was thinking of putting the game on here, but we only got 3 minutes left on that. Still roasting that pork at 375 degrees. Okay, checking out this pork one more time here. We're still hovering around 120 here. Yep, I think we still need another 10 minutes in here, as much as I hate it means us just sort of chilling out and waiting. Thank you, car guy. So we'll set a timer for another 10 minutes here. Actually, let's be honest. Let's do 15 here. This is definitely going beyond what I was reading for this size of a roast, or even larger of a roast, but different ovens cook differently. If you're just joining in, Carga, we've got Blackberry-Dijon, sort of a tart, acidic, but not too tart, with the honey in there. That's growing on me too. Got spinach waiting, we got onions waiting for with our spinach. We got beans cooking with the Hock. We got the pork that you just saw. We got potatoes here that I roasted earlier and have pulled, but I may throw back into the onion. And the charred little bits here on the bottom with the potatoes here. These guys were parts of a serrano pepper that lended a little bit of decent heat to these guys. That quite tasty. It's so weird. I feel like I have no trustworthy meter for who's actually in the room or not. Like every single list that I see on every single different, whether it's my dashboard, the moderator board, the OBS chat, or just chat itself, my own room, they're all different. we're getting to that point of the day where the sun's killing my cutting board light. It's amazing to see how some of these restaurants are. I'm looking through my Twitter feed right now, but I have so many friends and past college friends and all that jazz that it's amazing to see what some of these business owners and restaurant chefs are doing to try and weather this storm. I really hope it can pull through. I'm really on the edge of saying that. I mean, I sort of actually said it, that I'm worried that what we know as fine dining, especially casual fine dining, is probably dead for the next 5 to 10 years. It's not going to be completely dead, but it's not going to be anything close to its glory here of even 6 months ago. How are we looking here? Is the bone start? Yeah, our bone's starting to pull out here now. Starting to separate, starting to break down. But these beans are probably going to take a little bit longer than even I'm planning to do on stream here, but they will be done tonight. Thanks, Luna. Yeah, it's taking a bit longer here. It's taken at least 30 minutes longer here than I expected that roast to do. I mean, obviously, we've just been chilling out here waiting for everything else. That's cooking. It's not cooking commercially, but that's cooking. Cooking commercially would have been, let's tear this down into pieces and throw it back in there and finish it. But I'm not in a rush. Wow, it's almost tempted to calibrate my thermometer again here. Make sure that it's on par here. It should be. I mean, I've done it twice here on stream the last couple of weeks, but we got another 2 minutes here. Let's make sure. Got my glass of ice water here. Fresh amount of ice that I just grabbed out of there. Giving it a moment here to make sure that it's nice and cooled down to a nice chilly 32 degrees Fahrenheit. I did that in a community college before I went to the CIA. That was quite interesting. That was a lot of fun. I did that as a club. And as a club in the first college I went to, and did several interesting projects and learned a lot about doing that. And there's just still a huge, great business for that, but it's modernized a lot more. And sadly, due to labor costs, it's simplified itself a lot more. I'm much more interested in like the competitions and actual art of ice carving. These companies making quick ice luges and stuff like that are not what I'm interested in. So we're maybe still a little on the warm side here. So I'm going to use the built-in wrench here in the handle. Pull that guy down to 32 degrees. Sit there another couple of minutes. There's the dimple on this thing. A little dimple here. I don't know if you can even see that on the stream. There's a little dimple on these. That dimple is where the actual temperature is taken out. That seems to be pretty much right on to me. Maybe slightly over, but close enough that let's pull that pork back out here. See what we got. It's not very complicated. It's just time, and then it's the same as any other carving, really. Don't want to shock the thermometer here, so I'm going to try and give it a moment here to warm up to room temp first before I throw it right into the center of this guy. Allow this to rest a moment too. I think we might be there this time. Actually, I'm so sure we're there this time that I'm turning the oven off. This is looking nice and golden brown on the outside. I'm really liking the outside of this. Got some nice dark color here to the fatty and light meat top part to the loin. I probably could have cut this down quite a bit, and I definitely could have cut the fat down a bit. But one more time here. I think we are perfect. We are golden. We are right there. 135 on the dot. It's probably going to carry over. It's already started carrying over here a minute or two here, but we are golden with that. I think we are good to go. So I'm going to take the potatoes and throw them back into the oven to warm back up, or at least stay warm. The oven is off though, so it's not actively reheating them. Just using residual heat there. Yeah, I'm not going to break down the pork to Hock here on stream tonight. We are getting close to that point though. The meat is separating pretty well from the bone there. Looks like I'll get a decent amount of marrow out of that bone too. But I'll show you how that turned out here on Sunday. That's also going to be going in with the leftovers of this pork into pupusas for the third or fourth time this stream. Telling everyone that. 135 pretty much perfect. So we may end up being slightly over what I was hoping for our doneness, but medium well I'm happy with. So, little flame back on our onions here. Gonna add a little bit more vinegar to the party. Just a splash here to help add a little moisture. And actually, why don't we do a little splash of the wine too? Bring this up until it's nice and sizzling again. Add some butter to the party. Add a little spinach to the party. Pull the pork off to the side here. Cutting board. And barehanded. I'm just going to barehand it. Bones aren't that warm. And let's see what we got. Medium well. Well, I completely forget my spinach, which is still fine, but I'm going to cut the heat here now. Caught this just in time here. Small little color addition to our plate, I think, here tonight. Pull this off of the pan here quick. Before it turns completely navy green, which is not what we want. We want that nice bright spinach, even though it's cooked through nicely. Spread out in the bowl so it cools down. So I'm happy with that. That's like I said, slightly over where I want it to be, but I'm very happy with that roast. Let's see here. We need, I think I'm going with a wood bowl tonight. And a couple of our roasted potatoes that roasted with serrano. Get a little bit of a kick with them. And about half of those guys, that'll be good. Set those off to the side here. We got our pork, which I need to slice this once more time. Took my photo here of it sliced in half, but let's do it. Twist off. Come on. Working as intended. And I think I'm going to go for this guy. Pull our piece of string off of there. Fine. Just take that bottom bone off. Throw our spinach and onion down here. I lost a lot of that good golden color here we got on our skin on the cutting board here, but that's some good, nice roasted fat there. And our blackberry sauce. I didn't add the drippings in with the, actually I need to do something with this. This will work. There's so much juice on that board from this pork. I just needed to put it somewhere because it was just pulling entirely off of the board. Get ourselves a photo of this gorgeousness. Come on now. My hands are too wet for my phone right now. There we go. All right. We still have people live here in chat. We have people that are going to be yelling out and saying hello and saying hi. Let me give you guys a close-up here of tonight's dinner. We have our blackberry pork with our Blackberry-Dijon sauce, roasted pork with roasted potatoes and spinach and onions. let's see if we can't find someone to host up here tonight. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I'm going to go enjoy this lovely port. I hope you all have a lovely evening. Wine turned out all right. Not too crazy, but enjoyable. And I will see you all back on Sunday for pupusas and cheesecake.